Input data file structures. The input data file can be structured in various ways. For instance, we can have fixed length records where every row, the byte length, is exactly the same number of characters. Variable length where each row can vary in length. Obviously there has to be some type of descriptor on each row telling SQL Loader how long the row is. A stream record format is a continuous format using characters such as /n to break lines and /t to indicate tab characters. Logical records effectively overlay physical records, allowing the combination of separate chunks of physical information into single logical records. Physical records multiples into a single logical record. Data fields allows for specific definition of data field structure within the control file. Now let's look at each one in turn. Let's go back to fixed length records. What is a fixed length record? For instance, a fixed length record could have a number and then a string and let's say a date. Well, a fixed length record's input file would have each line exactly the same length. So let's say that was 2, that was 3, that was 4. Coming to variable length records, let's copy and paste this. We'd have something like this. As you can see, each row is a different length. And obviously there has to be some kind of indicator, say on the front, of, let's say this is 25 characters. These are not exact numbers, bear in mind. This would be 30. These are just arbitrary numbers. That's really what we mean by fixed length and variable length records. Very simple concept. Here's some pre-prepared scripting I have. Basically, in a fixed length record input file, as you can see here, is an example data file. I don't actually need new lines, so effectively when this is imported it actually becomes 3 different lines because the length is fixed, as in the 1, 4 letters, 2, 4 letters, 3, 4 letters. And it fixes the length using this syntax here next to the in-file command in the SQL Loader control file. Obviously I have field definitions here. Variable length records, you can see here I have this as being 8 characters, that's 1, 2, 3, that's 5, that's 8 characters, 10 characters, this adds up to 10, and this adds up to 9. Once again, you don't need the new lines because the column structure and the variable length specification determines how the records are structured. In other words, var2 indicates 2 characters for the length of each line, or the length of the values of the fields within each line, excluding the comma delimiters. What's the next format? The next format is stream record format. A stream is literally a continuous string of data. As you can see here, I have a separator specification for each record, and I define that as being an asterisk. So here's my first record, as in the values in the previous variable length record example. Here I have the same names of people with the same column specification, and it's simply split up using that asterisk, and I have obviously the same field definition. Next is we have logical records. Logical records, as I said already, are simply a way of splitting up physical records. We don't need to go any further into that now. Data fields. By data fields, we mean that we can simply split up the fields within an input file and apply that specification from the control file into the input data file, passing the data through this structure and building it into this structure. We can actually define based on fields and the size of the fields using a certain separator. In this case, I've used the tab character. I could use a comma. In this situation here, I have fields not broken up by a delimiter, but broken up by positional characteristics. Obviously, this structure requires fixed length records. That's basically the different types of input file structure.